The US President Donald Trump's demand for a $500 billion payback from Ukraine extends beyond critical minerals, covering ports, infrastructure, oil, gas, and the country's broader resource base. A draft agreement dated February 7, 2025, and obtained by the Telegraph has sparked alarm in Kiev. Marked privileged and confidential, the document proposes a joint US-Ukraine investment fund aiming to prevent hostile parties from benefiting from Ukraine's reconstruction. However, critics argue it amounts to economic colonization in perpetuity. The agreement grants the US control over Ukraine's economic resources, including mineral reserves, oil and gas, and key infrastructure. Washington would take 50% of revenues from resource extraction and half the financial value of new resource-related licenses. A lien on such revenues would ensure US payments take priority over Ukraine's own economic needs. The contract, governed by New York law, further grants the US the right of first refusal on future mineral exports, while an investment fund would have exclusive decision-making power over resource projects. The language suggests the agreement was drafted by private legal firms rather than official government agencies. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelenskyy initially proposed offering the US a stake in Ukraine's critical minerals during a visit to Trump Tower in September, hoping it would secure continued military aid. His rationale was that American corporate involvement would deter Russian aggression. Some of Ukraine's key mineral basins, including titanium, tungsten, uranium, graphite and rare earth elements, lie near the front lines or in Russian-occupied territories. However, he likely did not anticipate being presented with terms harsher than those imposed on defeated nations after World War II. Trump claims Ukraine has essentially agreed to pay $500 billion, citing its valuable resources. Speaking to Fox News, he warned that rejecting the deal could leave Ukraine vulnerable to Russian control.
A deal, they may not make a deal, they may be Russian someday or they may not be Russian someday, but we're going to have all this money in there, and I say I want it back.
Trump justifies his demand by arguing that the US has already spent $300 billion on the war, though congressional aid packages total $175 billion, with a significant portion allocated for US weapons production and structured as Lend-Lease assistance. At the Munich Security Conference, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham suggested Trump's demand was a strategic move to counter declining public support for Ukraine.
President Trump can go to the American people and say Ukraine's not a burden, it's a benefit. They're sitting on top of $1 trillion worth of minerals that all of us can benefit from by aligning with the West. I told President Trump, it may be the old Soviet Union, it may be the Russian Empire, but I do know he's going after the money.
Claims about Ukraine's resource wealth have taken on an almost mythical quality. Some estimate its mineral and hydrocarbon reserves at $26 trillion, an exaggerated figure. While Ukraine does have cobalt, modern electric vehicle batteries increasingly avoid it. Similarly, lithium demand may decline with advancements in sodium-ion and sulfur-based battery technology, as well as increased recycling. Ukraine's shale gas reserves face significant challenges. A portion of the Yuzivska field is under Russian control, while Western Carpathian reserves present geological difficulties that previously led Chevron to abandon projects in both Ukraine and Poland. Ukraine's greater economic potential lies in exporting renewable and nuclear energy to Europe, an area far removed from Trump's focus. Ukraine has no realistic way to meet Trump's $500 billion demand, nor can it be repaid within a reasonable time frame. The morality of imposing such terms on a country that has sacrificed so much for democracy raises serious ethical concerns. So the Telegraph questions, who truly owes whom? Trump once wrote in The Art of the Deal, "I am very high and then I just keep pushing and pushing to get what I'm after." In normal business negotiations, the weaker party can walk away. Ukraine, however, is no position to do so. Trump's proposal represents economic coercion, an ultimatum driven more by opportunism than strategic necessity. As Trump himself once said, oftentimes the best deal you make is the deal you don't make. For Zelenskyy, that is not an option. He is left to choose between the military destruction of Ukraine at Putin's hands and its economic subjugation by its own supposed ally.